Hi, everybody. It's Jeff Cohn with SI Restoration, emergency water damage, fire damage, mold remediation, asbestos, and the repairs to bring you back to whole. So, the question that I get a lot is from clients and customers is, hey, we called your office and we had a water damage either in our office or in our home basement. And while we're waiting for your folks to come out, what do we do? Can we do anything? And the answer is yes. So here are some tips on what to do while you're waiting. So the first thing is that you have to kind of look around your basement or your office and say what has been affected by water. So of course, what runs through my mind is there's people who use what I call the home filing system, which means they lay files all over the place and don't think there could ever be a water damage. Of course, that's Murphy's Law. And then there's things like if let's say a toilet overflows in a top floor, both of an office or a home, and the next thing you know, you've got books of like a library, especially in a law office where there's legal books and law books all up on the wall, and they just get completely drenched. It happens more than you think. Then, of course, there's artwork. There is musical instruments that may be of value. Someone bought a 18th century violin. There are all types of things: photographs, pictures, files. Anyway, so the first thing you want to do carefully is take those items and get them out of the wet area. Now, a lot of people say, "Well, gee, if it's not wet directly, then I can leave it." No, the problem is your humidity level is so high, most likely in your area of affectedness of affected water, that the humidity is so high they will actually go ahead and absorb into the paintings or artwork or anything pretty quickly. Now, if it's a desk, I wouldn't worry so much about it. Again, it's the items that are more absorbent and more of a concern, especially like older piece, even an antique desk. You may want to think about removing if possible. So that's number one. Number one, if you don't do anything, that's the one thing you should do. Okay, and also make sure you place those items in areas that are dry, and two, make sure that they don't get something else affected and wet, and it's something like laying it down on carpet. People, believe it or not, will just lay it right on a piece of carpet. And of course, if you have a photograph of your children, now you have a permanent picture of your children on your living room carpet. Not something you want to do, I guess. So basically, what happens is you're at that point. Now comes the situation of what you can also do. Now, what you can also do is if you have a lot of wet books, you can take those books and put them in milk crates. Now, where you get milk crates from, you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, there's plenty of places. And you actually can line those books, especially if you don't want the restoration company to touch your stuff, which some people don't, and I understand that. So you want to take those books and put them spine up and make sure they're pressed together. Okay, and the reason is they want to keep we want to keep the shape of the books and even the files. Same thing with files in the shape of that they're in, so they're pushed together and up. Now, what you also at this point, what you can do is immediately, believe it or not, take those items after they're stacked and put it in some type of freezing unit. Now, you may not have room in your freezer like me, and that may cause a problem if you have a lot of books and you're saying, "Hey, look, this is not your standard one office. This is huge." Usually, the restoration company will be able to subcontract a freezer trailer, the ones you see at the food stores, who come out and basically everything is loaded into the freezer. What the freezer does is it stabilizes and keep the item that's been ruined and keeps it at the condition it is, so it's not going to get any worse than it is at that point. Then, then there are procedures and how to dry it from there, but at least it controls the situation, so each item can then be addressed instead of having to rush at one time. So let's see. I went over. Looking at my notes. Excuse me. I looked over photos. The artwork again. If artwork gets ruined, even by a fire situation, all hope is not lost. Okay, especially if you had the painting of Grandmama from the 1800s, and she's in her finest gown, and you're thinking that's it. We'll never see Grandmama on the wall again. No, that's not true. What happens is there are actual art specialists who specialize in the restoration of art, And so, not too bad. I believe the insurance company does pay for that. And they actually, I've seen pictures where I've seen actual paintings where half the painting is completely burnt, and they're able to take that painting, believe it or not, I don't know how they do it, through like electronics, whatever, and repaint, have an actual high-end painter paint an actual painting of Grandma in her gown, and it looks like the original. It's not the original. It's not 400 years old, unfortunately, but you got a picture of Grandma hanging on the wall, which is a great thing for Grandma and everybody else. Um, so there are many other items that I can talk about. Again, don't have the time in this video, but the main points are: get it out of the wet area, get it into an area of stabilization, and then ask your restoration company. Communicate at the office while these guys are coming here, especially because instead of waiting till the technicians get there, and some technicians are not knowledgeable. I'm speaking for all restoration companies. Some technicians are not that knowledgeable, and they may not know. So call your restoration company and say, hey, while these guys are coming out, here are my valuables that I'm really concerned about. If your restoration company says, don't worry, the technician knows what they're doing, and you find out the technician's not doing it, then I would highly suggest you get on the old Google and find out who knows. And you're welcome to contact me and say, listen, I live in Oklahoma. It's not where you serve. We serve in Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. But in Oklahoma you don't, but can you advise me? Sure, absolutely. Feel free to contact me. Thrilled to help you out. Again, thank you, Jeff Cohn from SI Restoration, emergency water damage, fire damage, mold remediation, asbestos, and the repairing to put you back to normal. Thank you.